We're good on staff comments?
Yes, sir.
Next on the agenda, we have general comments. At this time, we'll open it up for a citizen to go to the podium, state their name, address, and their concern. There appears to be no one here. Outstanding. Next, we'll have our comments from the commission. Let's start with Mr. Gowan down there.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I guess one of the things that we've all been noticing, some of the situations we've seen in our country with basically lawlessness. We have an ongoing situation where folks feel threatened by police officers and their actions, and we have a situation where now our officers feel threatened. I want to commend the work that our city police department does. I think everybody's well aware. We had a situation in our neighborhood a week ago Sunday where unfortunately a young woman lost her life, and it was a family situation, which to me makes it even more tragic. My condolences go out to Miss Merritt and for the loss that she suffered, and now she's got a child that's charged with that. My family was home when that occurred, and I can tell y'all that the police response to that I could tell was prompt, very prompt and professional. And I can tell you as somebody who served in law enforcement, those are the kind of calls that you don't want to get. That that there's somebody's hurt, there's a weapon involved, you don't know what you're going to, and that's what a police officer and a deputy sheriff and any law enforcement, that's what they deal with day after day, year after year. The bigger the city, the more calls that you get like that. I think we all know that our nation is founded upon the rule of law, starting with our Constitution, and we expect every citizen to obey those laws. And we expect that those who are called to enforce those laws respect the rights of those citizens when they do so. And that's the basis of the public contract that we have between law enforcement and the citizens that they protect. And I would remind everyone that that's what officers do. They're there to serve and to protect. One thing, I talked to a couple of officers. I noticed, because of my profession, I deal with the courts, and I think it's up now. We've had about 6 murder trials over the last year or so where our police department investigations unit has been the primary investigators on those cases. Each one of those cases has been successfully prosecuted, resulting in the conviction of those that were charged with the crime. We've seen a lot in the newspaper about all our unsolved murders and homicides and all our high crime rate, whatever exactly that means, because I do dispute some of those statistics that have been published. But I haven't heard a lot of praise for the work that our department has done. And I think that's commendable to know that our investigations unit now has come up to the standard of where they can properly investigate those crimes, and the result is a successful prosecution to get those people off the streets who are endangering and obviously ending the lives of other people. Those are some things that I want to bring out. I'm concerned at the tone of some of our media as they discuss these issues. I don't believe all the pertinent facts are being brought out, and some of it is quite frankly a disservice. It is important to note when you're looking at what goes on that every day in this country we have hundreds of thousands of law enforcement citizen interactions, from in the street all the way, traffic stops obviously, to those encounters like we had here, a couple of weeks ago, where you're on a scene where somebody has been killed. Despite the fact, I think it speaks highly of the professionalism of our nation's law enforcement personnel that we don't have more use of force than what we do. A couple of things stick out to me that when I look at what's been going on, is that if you want to know what you can do as a citizen to help make things better and not elevate or escalate a situation, think about your behavior. We talked about this, a couple of months ago. What should you do if you're stopped by an officer? What can you do to make sure that the officer doesn't perceive a threat and he understands what's going on? If it's at night, we reminded people, turn on your dome light so the officer can see the interior of your car. Make sure he can see your hands so he knows there's no threat of weapons or anything of that nature. But the general thing is cooperate. If a person in this country feels like they're being discriminated against, or that the procedures or the arrest that's being taken on behalf of the law enforcement officer, you're going to get your day in court. We have civil courts, we have criminal courts. You have rights guaranteed by the Constitution, by the state of Georgia Constitution. In the city of Douglas, we have a charter. We have criminal courts where you can establish your rights, and you have an attorney. Even if you can't afford one, we'll make sure you're provided with an attorney to advocate for you. And you certainly have the right of civil redress. You can sue whoever it is that you feel like is infringed upon your rights. There's no need for a person to take the law into their own hands and decide to become a law unto themselves, to use violence. I thought it was interesting to note in Charlotte, they were talking, we saw on TV, all the damage that was done, the property was destroyed, stores looted. One thing that I thought was interesting was that 70% of those arrested came from outside the city. Thought that was interesting. In other words, if maybe think it's a similar situation would occur in our city, the people that live here, I think we have respect and admiration for each other. I don't think that we'd be in such a hurry to turn on each other, but when you get people coming from the outside, that's things we need to be aware of. On the law enforcement side, I don't know if anyone noticed, but our governor has recognized the fact that for too long our law enforcement professionals in the state of Georgia have been neglected with their pay and their training. Some of that's being addressed. He's authorized raises for those officers, but he's also ordered a general review of the policies and the training. It's been over 15 years ago since I went to the police academy, and in those years, it looks to me, as best I can figure, the training requirements have only gone up 20 hours. In the state of Georgia, for a person to be certified as a peace officer, all they have to have is a GED and go to that 11-week training. Okay, that authorizes a person to carry a weapon, and they have to make those life and death decisions. Now, if you're like me, that seems a pretty minimum standard for a person who's called to make those life and death decisions and decide. And I think what we've seen in our country is the fact that too many of our officers out there on the streets are not getting the training and experience they need to deal with these situations. I think we're woefully inadequate in terms of defensive tactics, firearms training, and use of force, and it's being exposed. And unfortunately, people are suffering as a result. I know when I was on the street, I took it upon myself to learn more stuff that I could do. I wasn't getting it from my department or from the state, so I had to go outside and find my own resources to find better ways to do things. But at the end of the day, it's just like what we were taught in Sunday school and what our parents and grandparents have taught us. Treat other people how you want to be treated. If you want respect, give respect. Follow the golden rule. Those things have always helped me. And I've been fortunate to be around a lot of different people, not just, and in the South, we have, whites and blacks that live together. I probably was trying to look, probably about 11 different countries, people that I've lived around, lived with, worked around, rubbed shoulders with. And one thing that's kind of amazed me as I thought about people, I spent 2 years working with Laotian refugees that were first-generation Americans that have come here, thousands of miles away, very different language, dress, and culture. But those people and all the people I've been around, I find commonalities. People love family. That's important to them. They love their children. Courtesy and respect are important. They don't like liars. They don't like thieves. They don't like murderers or people that abuse others. Those are some commonalities that we have as human beings, and I hope that we never forget that the things that unite us as a country, as a community, are a lot more important than those differences that we may have. And so that's my thoughts as I think about some of the challenges that we face. And I appreciate all the things that our city employees are doing to keep us unified as a community and to support each other, as we have the challenges that we have, because we're always gonna have some differences and not see eye to eye in every situation. But I think by and large, we try to do the best we can to find common ground, and that's one thing I appreciate working with Mayor Polk. That's what I see in him. We try to find the common ground and the important things that unify us, and that's where we work from. And that's all I have for this evening.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner McNeil, any comments?
Yes, very briefly, Mayor. I just want to say I want to again recognize the group that we just gave the check to, the Child Cancer Awareness Group. They did an outstanding job during the month of September. We still have a few days left for their cause, and I know they'll be wrapping up those efforts real soon. And I want to praise this community for what they've done, for the support they give. And every year, since 2008, the Beta Sigma Phi ladies have, during the month of October, the pink ladies, we call them, the other pink ladies, turned the town pink. And we so welcome that opportunity coming up in October. We started this back in 2008 when 3 of our sisters, during the course of our sorority, our years together, we've lost sisters to breast cancer. So in doing that, we raised awareness and brought this forth in the community, and so we have that to look forward to in October. So get ready again to not so much about your pocketbooks as it is about your hearts, and about getting your wives and your mothers out there to be checked. So again, Mayor, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Mayor Pro Temp.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, before I go into my comments, I want to first of all, I need to bring, I know we did not mention it during the meeting for the minutes, but on page 5 of our minutes, that really needs to be corrected regarding the Corner Lot LLC alcoholic beverage license application. That paragraph what states, after much discussion, it was the consensus of Mayor and Commission to waive the disqualification of the misdemeanor convictions and bring the item forward for a vote. What it should say is waive the disqualification of the misdemeanor conviction and place the item on the consent agenda at the regular meeting for approval, because that's what happened. We didn't bring it forward for a vote. So thank you, Miss City Clerk, for getting that. Last week, Georgia Municipal Association Board of Directors, we had a meeting in Dublin, Mayor and Commission. And I'd just like to say that I do have some information for all of you that I will get Miss Christie to copy and place in y'all's boxes. It was some very important information that they shared at that Board of Directors meeting, and I would like for you all to have it. Also, last week was very busy for me. I was actually worn out. I couldn't even make it to church. We had church in Waycross Saturday and Sunday, and I did not go, and I feel bad about that, but I was tired. But also last week in Valdosta, we had a workshop which was sponsored by Georgia Municipal Association. It was a workshop on community policing, and in that workshop, Chief Childress, I think he's Valdosta's police chief, mentioned the importance of being transparent within the police department. He even gave us an example of, he had an incident where a citizen, a person was bitten by a police dog, and he said that the way he handled it, he immediately went, and Chief, if I get this wrong, you correct me, you were there. He went to the people and to the mom. They had already left the hospital, so he went to their house, and he assumed ownership, responsibility, because it was their fault, the police department fault, and however it happened that the dog got away to go and bite that person. And he gave it. He stated that issues like that, when you go ahead and take on responsibility, assume responsibility for issues